welcome to the call. This is Coach Chris Wilson with CriticalBench.com, and I am very, very, very happy to have with me today Coach Brian Klepacki with us to talk about Crunchless Core. Brian is a strength coach. He's part of the team. He's been in countless YouTube videos. He's created free reports. He's created other products, co-created other things with us. He's been around now for coming up on 2 years. So he's just been a tremendous presence with the team since he came on board. And Brian, as the creator of Crunchless Core, just give us a little bit more maybe background information. First of all, hello. And please give us some background information about what you've been doing the last 15 years.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear your voice, Chris, as always. So my name is Brian Klepacki, for all those who have no idea who I am. And as Chris touched on, I'm a certified strength coach with the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I've had that certification for years. This is a certification that all elite coaches and trainers must have if you're going to deal with professional sports, collegiate athletes, Olympic medalists, you name it. This is the certification that you have to have in order to pretty much just stand the mark. Also a certified sports nutritionist. I'm a functional movement specialist. I'm a triathlon coach. In other words, I deal a lot with athletes, and I've been doing this for the past 15 years. I have a master's degree in exercise science with a concentration of strength and conditioning. I got that wonderful certification, or that degree, from Florida Atlantic University down in Boca Raton. So needless to say, I've been around athletes, all kinds of athletes. I've also helped create athletes. So for the past 15 years or so, that's been my drive, my passion, and my life. So up to today, jumped on with Critical Bench a couple years ago and been writing a lot of good stuff based on my experience and my education, and love to keep that relationship going and just keep helping everybody out there with YouTube and Facebook, and just kind of unloading my information into their training. So that's my life, 15 years in a nutshell.
Yeah, it's a much better job than I could have done, that's for sure. I just assume you talk about your life than me fumble through it. You're also, you started your own business, Optimax Performance Training, and so people can also find you at OptimaxPerformance.com. Yep. And that's how, that's your, you are still currently actively working with clients and stuff, even though you do stuff with us, yeah. Yeah, that's what I do pretty much on a daily basis. Run my own strength and conditioning business here in St. Pete, Florida, and deal with a lot of triathletes and a lot of youth athletics, and do some customizing online programs and that whole side. And I love dealing with people like that. So that's my other, I guess my real personal physical job outside of writing YouTube and Facebook content. And you're a competitive triathlete yourself, or and have been in recent years. Yeah. Yeah, I grew up playing soccer, basketball. Speed, quickness, power sports, and then once I hit into college, I just got turned on to long, slow distance type of training. Even though my body is still a power, a power body, that endurance doesn't just come naturally, but it's a different kind of challenge that I love. So, competitive triathlete, obstacle course racing, you name it, I try to do it. Yeah, well, I've seen your moves, and if I could even, I could barely cover you on the basketball court. So I know that the speed and the quickness, explosiveness is there. So the strength training and stuff definitely supports that. Let's dive into some questions. I got a lot of them for you, and I really want to get into this program that you've created, and it's pretty amazing, and it's unlike anything else out there. Number one, I got to ask you, when's the last time you yourself did a crunch or sit up in a workout?
Gosh, that's a great question. It had to have been before going to school for exercise science. I mean, I was a typical gym rat, not knowing what to do, just kind of watching other people do. I just whatever, I absorbed things by osmosis. I was around people who bench press, so I benched. I was around people who ran, so I ran. And then so the honest answer for that question would probably be a good 8-9 years ago. And then once I hit grad school, I realized how dangerous a crunch and sit-up really is on that spine, especially for athletic performance. So I scratched that completely. So yeah, 8-9 years ago when I was in school.
Yeah, and that definitely lines up pretty well with how long it's been since strength coaches, strength experts really have kind of said don't waste your time with those movements. They're hurting you more than they're helping you. You're better off doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
And I remember that because we've been at this roughly the same amount of time, working with clients and working in the fitness industry. And I remember that when, in the early to mid 2000s, it was just like kind of a no-no. It's like, why are you doing those? They're not, there's no benefits really, ultimately. And that brings me to my next question is, explain to the listeners the difference between cosmetic abs and real core strength.
Sure. Yeah. So you got to picture two people. You got to picture, the skinny fitness model that looks good, but that's all they do is look good. They can't function well. Now you look at a elite power lifter, elite football player. You would say, hey, they're unhealthy. However, when you define core strength, I would put my money on the power lifter or the football player that they would have more core strength than the little fitness model that looks to have core strength. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So it's more show than go for that cosmetic abs, and then it's more go than show for the real core strength. Just because, it gets me fired up when people say, they're like, oh, he's lean, he must be healthy. But in reality, people have no clue what's going on the inside. So the core strength is what you don't see on the surface. You see it in action. Cosmetic abs is just you see what's on the screen, regardless if they suffer from back pain or just have no functional range of motion throughout their movement. Right.
No, it's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And you can have both.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Let's just put it out there. You yourself have just about an 8-pack, and I know what your strength potential is. I've seen you in videos and stuff. So you have the combination.
Right. But the thing is, Chris, you have to train for real core strength in order to get good, strong cosmetic abs. You can't do the cosmetic work and get strength, real core strength. I get my quote unquote cosmetic abs from doing functional movements, Olympic lifting, functional range stuff. I get my abs from doing that stuff. I don't get the strength from doing, what people just refer to as just ab work, sit-ups and crunches. And so to answer your question, there is a huge difference, and I hope everybody understands that.
Yeah. And since you're still working actively in the field, working with clients of different ages and different skill levels, are you still finding it difficult explaining to them why crunches and sit-ups are awful for your spine? Do they look at you like, really? I thought that's what you do.
It's old school. I've done sit-ups and crunches. Everybody has done sit-ups and crunches. Gyms all over the country, all over the world, still have sit-up apparatuses that still exist, and people use them all the time. So I don't find it difficult explaining, just because I've been doing this for so long that I know how to explain it in a silly way, and we can talk about that later on if we have time. But people, they look at me like, what are you talking about? I want to get a 6-pack. And I'm like, well, one, you're doing things wrong, and then two, you're doing more harm than good. And if you want to develop a real core that with defined abs, you got to do everything that you're not doing and stop doing what you are doing.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can understand it. It's just kind of like it's a battle that you just have to continually fight until you prove people, that their old school thinking is old school.
Well, right.
It's time to move on. Yeah.
And sometimes I deal with the people that you tell them one thing. I mean, this is just society in general. You tell them one thing, and they don't believe you until, it's almost life or death, where your doctor's saying, hey, if you're not going to change, major things are going to happen. And
right.
So people kind of look at me like, oh, you're just a coach, you're just a trainer, you're just like everybody else, until they realize that I was right, and they come back and say, all right, I'm going to buy into what you're saying because the thing that I was doing screwed me up.
Right. So that's the moment that the average Joe or Jill find that, that plank variation or that planking drill that Brian just put me through is far more valuable than me wasting time with those crunches and sit-ups like at the end of my workout.
Yeah, it usually takes an injury or no results to be seen in order for somebody to make the switch of, hey, whatever I'm doing is not working. I'm going to trust your process because everything else has failed. And not just failed, they've actually backslided because now they're injured, which opens up a whole another can of worms that I, as a strength coach, have to deal with on the recovery side of it.
Right. Which is like and it goes to the story of what kind of helped you create this whole program was the client of yours that was experiencing, had a herniated disc, was visually in terrific shape, but was in a lot of pain.
Right.
And he thought he was doing the right thing by crunching and sit-ups and doing all that stuff to try and strengthen his abdominal area. Everyone tells you, you have to have strong abs to help you with a bad back. But all that extra flexion and stuff was just causing him more and more pain and taking him further and further away from, where he needed to be.
Right. Yeah. The way I can explain it the best is just the jelly donut. Say it 5 times fast. It's our spine. Think of your discs between each vertebrae. That's your jelly donut. Any type of excess flexion. I'm not talking like violent crunches or sit-ups. I'm just talking, leaning over, sitting up, twisting, getting out of the car, brushing your teeth. Your spine only has so much life in it, and so that jelly donut is it gets worn out, and after time, the jelly is compressed. That jelly donut is compressed from all that excessive flexion, which pushes the jelly out. In other words, that's what causes the herniated disc. It's that jelly coming out of that donut due to excess flexion in the spine.
Right, and all that repetitive, hundreds and if not thousands of crunches and sit-ups on like a weekly basis just gets you there faster. Yeah. 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 Well, and that's what's so cool about the Crunchless Core. So before we get there, because I want to kind of get to the meat of the program here, in the industry, in the fitness, in the muscle and strength world, the marketing always seems to be kind of like easy, simple, quick. These are all words that are trending and popular,
right?
For exercise routines that are out there for people to consume. As a strength expert yourself, tell me 3 reasons why most other workout routines fail the consumer when they think they're doing the right thing. Like, this sounds like this will work for me. Well, what 3 things maybe pop in your head that are reasons why they won't work?
Reasons why they won't work. One is because they're not specialized. They're not. They don't hit the weaknesses. It's hard to explain in just a quick minute, but they're not. It's just a poor program. They're not specialized in training the body how it should be trained. So people just revert to what they know and what might have worked in the past, but there's no long-term benefit from doing that. So it's not specialized. It's not long-term.
So too cookie cutter. Like
right.
Too general.
And keep in mind, I train a lot of athletes. Athletes are very dynamic. They develop, a crazy amount of strength, crazy amount of stamina. So they need to have everything firing properly. And these cookie-cutter programs will never tap into their true potential or take them to the next level. So the second reason would just be it might be a quick fix, but it's not a long-term solution. So I said earlier, I love helping people. I love dealing with athletes. I love building athletes. My goal for everybody I deal with is for them to do whatever they're doing now, have them do it in 30 years, but better, stronger, and more efficiently. So I have a long-term approach for all my clients and all my athletes. I want them to be the best they can, not just today, but 30 years from now. All these cookie-cutter programs will never, ever, ever look past whatever program, whatever date range they're set. So if it's a 7-day workout, that's all it is. There's no long-term success from doing a 7-day workout. Training is a lifelong process, and that's the whole idea with my approach to my product and also how I train my clients and athletes.
Yeah. Well, that might be enough reasons right there.
That might have been blurred in 3. I could give you more, but I think I might have covered all the reasons.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The more specialized, the more the more you can get to the root of the issue of people's weakness issues or strength potential. There's a foundation that everyone needs to have, and a lot of these other programs just kind of scratch the surface and maybe give you some fat. You get a little bit of fat loss, and you get your arms look a little bit better. This, that, or the other, but ultimately is improving your life, and I think that's what you're saying.
And another thing is that just by default, we live in a technology-driven society, so people sit all day, they text all day, they look down. In this current, posture position, you're in your spine's flexed. So we exacerbate the problem by throwing on a crunch program that incorporates sit-ups, excessive flexion of the spine. So the programs right there don't take into consideration that we sit all day, that we text all day, and we just have a poor posture as in a society that we should be doing everything but crunches and sit-ups. We should be doing back extensions, focusing on the posterior chain. So a lot of programs, but again, Chris, everybody just wants they want that cosmetic look. They want to look good, but they don't necessarily want to work for it, and they don't want to do all the grunt work to to get the real core strength that ultimately gives you the abs that your body needs. And so it's so I guess that'd be another reason is that they don't focus on the problem.
Right, exactly. They're doing Band-Aid fixes instead of really getting in there and doing the surgery,
Right.
And that you pretty much tackled my next question, which was about our culture and the excessive amount of sitting and desk work and computer work and poor posture positions like driving and texting and stuff like that. That's most of us. There's some people out there that have physical jobs and they're on their feet and they're walking around and moving a lot, There's some manual labor type stuff, but ultimately even that person probably is spending too much time sitting when he's not at work. He or she might end up having to drive a significant amount of hours per day, or when they get home they don't want to do anything because they're exhausted. So they're not getting actual exercise, and then they're just sitting. My mom used to I remember my mom, she worked in the restaurant industry, and she was on her feet all day long, and she was huffing and puffing and sweating and moving around and serving people. And then I would mention to her exercise, and this is years and years ago, and she said, well, why do I need to exercise? That's what I do for a living. I'm like, well, Mom, it's just not the same.
Right.
It's not the same to go to and specifically do movements that are gonna help your overall physical strength and endurance and improve your general health, and it just So anyway, back and neck pain are just they're just everywhere. Anybody you talk to has like, oh, my lower back is stiff, and and they're always looking for like that quick fix. So just tell me why you think that the Crunchless Core is the best program for that person, since it's such a kind of it's everywhere. I mean, you could talk to 5 people, and probably at least 2 or 3 of them are people that have like neck, mid back, or lower back pain at some point.
Right. Yeah. This program that I developed, it's taken pretty much all my education, all my certifications, my experience one-on-one with pro athletes and just weekend warriors. I've taken all that information and experience and kind of compacted into this program that breaks it. It's broken apart into 2 phases. Everybody has a learning curve. So the first phase is kind of reestablish, go back to the basics, if you will. You got to you need to learn how to crawl before you can walk, so to say.
Absolutely.
So the phase 1 of this program is kind of that. You're still going to get a heck of a workout because the idea is to train everything that you're currently not training, regardless if you exercise or not, or you have a stressful job or whatever. There's certain movements that everybody should do. And again, some of this information I'm sharing is not just my philosophy. It's proven. It's studied in universities. It's doctors.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is not just Coach Brian Klepacki, standing on a soapbox. This stuff's actually proven, and it's real and tangible.
Right.
So I've taken all that information and created a program that it encompasses everything that everybody is not doing. And I'm taking a majority of the people who exercise, they do things incorrectly. So I'm eliminating the exercises that they could potentially do incorrect and do the exercises that are required to sustain and have a good quality and quantifiable life, if that makes sense. So the phase 2 would be just kind of taking it up a notch. You've established the movements. You've gotten the rhythm down of the type of work that I have prescribed. And then you're just kind of pushing the envelope a little bit, testing your limits, really starting to develop that true core strength in all planes of motion, up, down, around. So it's multi-directional, it's multifunctional, but not once will you see a crunch or a sit-up.
Yeah.
And I think everybody can understand why, just from this conversation you and I have had, why crunches or sit-ups are not in my program.
Right. I would hope at this point, if they listened from the beginning, that they realize that it's kind of a dead exercise. And it's just, there's countless other things that you should be doing, could be doing, that would have the benefits without the negative side effects. So
right.
Would you say, though, with Crunchless Core, that it not only improves your total body strength, because that's what we're going after here. This is not a bodybuilding program. This is and it's not a powerlifting program either, even though there's some cool, there's deadlifts and stuff in it. That it also helps with fat loss, but it also improves the mind. Talk about the mind-muscle connection a little bit, because that's something that this program really promotes. And I don't know that it's really touched on very much. But right. It's such an important thing, and people should really understand what that means. What's the mind-muscle connection?
Yeah, it's an interesting topic of the mind-muscle connection. First of all, muscles don't have minds. They don't have brains. When people say, "Oh, it's muscle memory," right. I kind of laugh and say, "All right, where's your calf brain?" There's only one brain in the body. So but however, every muscle in the body has nerves. The nerves control the response, the input, and all that comes from the brain, which travels through the spinal cord to the brain. So you can see the importance of having a healthy spine to get the most efficient mind-muscle connection possible. And now in this program, I do cover a lot of mind-muscle connection activity or stability work. Everybody hears that term stability, but a lot of people don't know exactly what stability is. You know, I might think of like a BOSU ball or a stability ball or a balance pad or whatever. But the whole idea is to wake up inhibited muscles to maximize muscle activation to prepare you for sport. Now, I say that kind of quick. Now, think of an athlete. I train them in the gym, and not just for the gym. I don't want them to be a good gym goer. I want them to be a good athlete. And where do they perform? On the field. So I want to get the most mind-muscle connection possible on the field so they don't make a mistake. I want them to run a 4.340 or hit a ball 400 yards, but that only will take place if we improve the mind-muscle connection. And I do encompass a lot of that into this program because, I mean, even if we're not an athlete, life throws us curveballs. I might be going off on a tangent here, but you might be walking down a set of stairs, you slip. That's a mind-muscle connection. If your mind doesn't respond properly, you're either going to tear a muscle, break a bone, or hit your head or whatever. So right. I do encompass a lot of neurological work, a lot of proprioceptive work where it just means you're ready for whatever life throws at you. Hopefully that kind of makes sense.
No, it makes to me it makes beautiful sense. It's perfect. It makes it's how I've been training my body for years, and it's almost to a fault. We've had conversations before where I was so into like the more functional kind of aspect of training, what I was doing with my clients, that I got away from heavy lifting, which, and when I say heavy lifting, I mean, lifting with heavier weights with deadlifts and squats and stuff, but because I got so into and so involved and wrapped around doing all this like proprioceptive type stuff, standing on one leg and doing, bending over, touching, and then reaching up and doing all this stuff. But it's kind of like you need the mix. You need a little bit of both, and that's what this program does so well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want people to think that it's just a balance, stability kind of workout. I mean, I call it the stability work. That's your functional training. That prepares you to deadlift heavier weight. That prepares you to bench press more. If you have a stronger mind-muscle connection, you will. I mean, again, this is not me saying it. This is science saying that you will have more muscle activation, which will allow you to jump higher, throw harder, lift heavier, but also reduce the risk for injury when you do those maximal lifts.
Yeah, and let me make up another point too. Within each phase 1 and phase 2, you got 30 days phase 1 and a 30-day phase 2. There are 4 routines. There's a power routine, there's a strength routine, there's a stability routine, and there's a combo routine that kind of mixes all 3 of those together. So that's so people are getting a taste of a different type of program. Each it's 4 days a week that they're working out. So let's say on Monday they do power, Tuesday they do strength, and Wednesday they take off, and Thursday they do stability, and Friday they do like a combo of those. So just so that people understand more of like what you were kind of going after. It's a very nice balance of everything.
Yeah, and I try to include the core, intentionally include the core in a lot of those movements and a lot of those exercises. So the core might not be a primary mover, like, for instance, like a sit-up. Like that's your core and your abs are a primary mover. Like a lot of people don't realize that if you do a deadlift correctly, you'll engage your core a lot more than you will during a sit-up. Right. So that's the whole premise of this program, is to include the core, incorporate the core, whether it's a primary, secondary, or just a stabilizing mover for other exercises that will hit your arms, that will hit your legs, chest, you name it. The core will be used in every exercise in this program.
Yeah. And I'm so happy. The deadlift is one of my personal favorite exercises. It's a primal lift. It's one of the most beneficial exercises you could do for the body. You could argue it is the most beneficial exercise for the human body. And it's been so kind of beaten up and distorted over the years with like, oh, those deadlifts hurt your back. It's the first thing anybody says who even has a shred of information about, powerlifting or heavy lifting in any way. You know, if they think, oh my gosh, it doesn't, and they couldn't be further from the truth. The only reason deadlifts can be bad for your back is A, if you've been avoiding doing the proper exercises for a long time and training your body incorrectly, or B, you're just, you're a novice who's trying to use far too much weight for doing an exercise your body is just not prepared to do.
Right.
And, it's one of the best single greatest exercise, and I love that you said, it's way better to do a deadlift than doing a crunch or sit-up. I mean, are you kidding me? It's not even close. I mean, they're not even in the same, on the same level. And so, it's so cool, but there's so many variations, and you don't have to deadlift 300 pounds for it to be effective either,
Right.
So, getting off the exercise just for a moment, obviously eating and abs go hand in hand.
Right.
Since you're certified in sports nutrition, tell me two things that people can do right away to clean up their diets. And there is a nutrition component to Crunchless Core. But while we're having this conversation, what are two quick things that people that listening could do to clean up their diets?
Yeah. I've been doing this for so long, so to me it's common sense. But then again, not everything's so common these days. One is eliminate garbage from your diet. So we're looking at abs. Everybody wants to lean up, lose some weight, and look good. So in order to get that, you got to get rid of the garbage in your diet. I always tell my clients, you're not going to put cheap, outdated fuel in a Ferrari. You want to put premium, high test, the best gas you can put in that Ferrari in order for it to run like a Ferrari. So if you want to look, like a gladiator, like a professional sprinter, like a fitness model, there's a good chance that you need to do what they're doing, and what they're doing is eating clean. Getting rid of the potato chips, getting rid of the cookies, getting rid of the breads, the grains, just the nonsense stuff that keeps weight on. The second thing I would say is that people don't eat enough. They need to eat more food, of the right food, to maintain and clean up their diet. People think, I just got to lose weight. I just got to stop eating. I got to starve myself, do this weird, radical, borderline anorexia diet in order to lose weight. But science says otherwise. You got to eat to lose weight. And I talk about more of that in my in my manual that goes along with this program. But those two things, cut out the garbage, sweets, sugars, sodas, chips. That's just, to me, that's common sense. And two is people need to eat more. But what they need to eat isn't necessarily that easy to explain on a quick phone call. And it goes a lot more in depth of when to eat, what to eat, how much of what to eat, and why am I eating what I'm eating. So everybody eats.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to finish that. Everybody is different, so I can't just say you need to eat 8 ounces of chicken breast at 10 o'clock in the morning, where everybody's just on different schedules for their eating and training as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. And in the body, the only thing I was going to say is that when you're training with an intense program, demanding exercise routine, you need to feed the body. It's a furnace. When you're actively trying to build muscle and harden the body, get more tone, get leaner, the muscles are crying for proteins and complex carbohydrates, and your vegetables and your lean meats and your nuts and your beans and a lot of these things that are delicious and taste great. It's just that people got to realize what they have to be able to look and say, this is garbage and this is natural, or this a handful of cashews makes a heck of a lot more sense than a bag of potato chips, right?
Right.
And they both
Absolutely.
taste good. It's just that you got to more often, 9 out of 10 times, if you choose the cashews, you're hitting home runs.
Right.
And we're not saying you can never have a soda. It's just that you have to win. 90% of the time, you have to try to have the glass of water over the diet soda.
Absolutely. Everybody falls victim to, quote unquote cheat. But even still, people they cheat too often, and they don't cheat properly. So if I had just two things to tell people real quick: stop eating the garbage, and eat more healthy food. Now, if you don't know what healthy food is, just do an internet search and just type in 5 health foods, and you're gonna. You can't. It's almost like you have to be. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent here, but you just need to eat healthy more often than not.
Yeah, it's at your fingertips these days. I mean, type in,
that's what I was trying to say.
5 top healthy foods. You're going to get salmon. You're going to get like raw, almonds. You're going to get, broccoli and cauliflower. You're going to get,
and all that. It's
scallops.
so easy
look at all the, bison. There's so many like good, tasty things out there that taste amazing if you just take the time to prepare them.
Yeah, and all that information is free at your fingertips, like you just said, and there's really no reason why people shouldn't use that as an excuse, like, oh, I don't know what to eat. That's a lie. You do some basic research, and you can easily find something that will work for you, even if it just works for one meal of the day. The information's out there.
And I wanted to touch on the nutrition a little bit because I bet if you ask any elite athlete or anybody really looking to get to a particular level physically, the eating is probably the hardest part for them. The exercise and the training and stuff, for a lot of those people, there's such a love and such a passion for it that they find that almost easier. And sure, they work very hard and they work till exhaustion, but it's the eating, because we have to eat so many times a day, especially when we're pushing the body. So that becomes like, gosh, I got to make a good decision here a lot of times all day long, where I could go work out hard for an hour or two, and that's good. I'm good for the day for kind of that physical portion. But I got to eat lunch, and I got to eat a snack, and I got to eat dinner, and I got to not eat crap before I go to bed. So there's so much that plays into that.
Right. Yeah. If you think about it, if you work out 4 days a week, 1 hour, that's only 4 hours or 4 sessions of your life. But if you eat, let's just say minimum 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, that's 21 meals that you're responsible for in prepping and cooking and planning, cleaning up. So there's a lot more work that goes into, meal prep than actually exercise. It's a lot more thought out, more prepared, more. It is more difficult. Yeah,
no question. But you provided some really good guidelines and stuff. You have an accelerated kind of 2-week, plan for people to kind of just, jumpstart their way to getting like better abs and creating the core that they want, the look that they want, which actually leads me to my very next question. And do you think that most people, the average person, want a killer six-pack for the beach or just to feel leaner and look better on date night? Like, in terms of, going to work or whatever. Like, what would you say, like, when you talk to people, what are they really looking for as a goal physically?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's just demographic where you live. Athletes, they don't care about looking sexy on the beach. They want to perform well. They want to be lean. They want to be fast.
Yeah.
And they want to look fast too. So the killer six-pack, I guess that would be more of like the bodybuilding with figure competitors, physique. I don't deal with those individuals too much. So in my sphere, my business, I would say I would lean more towards the latter, feel leaner and look better. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with wanting a killer six-pack, but I believe you can be lean, have a six-pack, and feel good at the same time.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, you're like I said, you're kind of you're the blend. You're the guy that's walking around, sub 10% body fat all year long, and and your exercise and what you're doing in your exercise backs up, kind of gives you all that physical ability too, so it's great. But the only reason I ask that question is because I do think that most people, they just want to feel good in their own skin, and they want to be able to put on like maybe some nice clothes and feel good when they go to work or go out on a date
Absolutely.
with their spouse, and just feel like that lean kind of healthy feeling versus like, oh, I got to look like I'm I'm ready to like rip my shirt off and do a photo shoot on the beach,
Right. Yeah. A lot of people can even tell if you're spending way too much time on a particular muscle group. Like everybody makes jokes of like, people with chicken legs. They just spend all the time on the upper body. They skip leg day. It almost looks dysmorphic or unproportional just to have a killer six-pack with nothing else to go with it.
Right.
Now, if you look lean all over and you don't necessarily have a six-pack, but you look good, you feel good, and people say, hey, he looks pretty good or she looks pretty good, I think that's a win in my book. I'd rather be on that side than just have a killer six-pack and nothing else to go with it.
Right. Agreed. I mean, that's where, for me, getting super lean has been like a huge struggle for me, for a lot of years. And I mean, there's just so many good excuses, as to why I can't do it, or, I've only been able to do it a few times in my life. So, but just for me, it's just kind of like getting to that weight. There's a particular weight I think that all of us feel the best at. And it doesn't mean you have to have the six-pack when you're there. It's just about how good you feel and how well are you moving, So
sure.
That's what the program provides. So here's a question that's geared for the person that is, like, coming from a place of pain. Can some of the damage caused to the spine after years of crunches and sit-ups, and so I'm talking about the person that's maybe been kind of doing it the wrong way, not thinking they were doing everything right, kind of like the guy I talked about earlier that was a client of yours. Can they reverse some of this damage by doing Crunchless Core, in your opinion?
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt that damage can be reversed. Now, a lot of that does take into consideration how severe the damage is.
Sure.
How their age, their current ability to get in the gym and follow whatever I give them. I mean, if they're 60 years old and only have 30 minutes 1 week to train, chances are the damage will not be reversed. So with that said, I mean, it is possible. It's definitely doable, and it will take work depending on how severe the damage is. So I deal with people all the time that always come in. The reason why they come to me in the first place is usually, like I said, half hour ago, is that they come to me because whatever they were doing didn't work and ended up injuring them. So I deal a lot with people who suffer from injury. Runners have bad knees, or a baseball player has a hurt shoulder. So I do more rehab or prehab, if you will, to get them up to speed, and then we progress forward. So I got to kind of go back, fix the damage, and then we can go forward, because you're going to hit a limit at some point if you don't fix the damage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, it's good to know, though, because I think there's so many people, because it goes back to all that sitting and doing the wrong, getting poor advice, really, from just outdated information, or somebody that maybe, they've been in the industry for years and years, but they've kind of been out of the loop for the last 10 or 15 years.
Right.
And so these poor people are out there, they're trying to do good for themselves, and then they're just not getting out of pain. But
right.
I want that person to know, like, this program can do that. Like, you're doing so many, and I've done a lot of these, if not all these workouts, and they're challenging, they're fun, they're you can feel the difference through your middle. I mean, within a matter of like a few weeks, I've spent some time doing these programs, and it's they're pretty cool. I mean, they're unlike anything I've ever done, and I've done a lot of different exercise routines in my time. You know, I've been exercising since I was in high school, 25 years ago. So it's unlike anything else out there. Well, Brian, I thank you so much for your time, for talking about Crunchless Core. It's amazing. Now, people who want more information, they can get to the website at www.stopdoingsitups.com. Right? Stopdoingsitups.com. Type that in, and that'll take you right to just pretty much all this information that we just hit on. I mean, from top to bottom, they're going to be able to find out and more details about what we've just discussed.
Yeah, absolutely. And last thing before we conclude this is that I got to be honest with people. I mean, this is not a quick fix. It's a long-term solution. It's the long-term solution. It's not easy. It's not going to happen overnight. And I mean, it's 60 days. People, they might be turned off with 60 days, but what's 60 days in our entire life? If this 60 days will transform the next 30 years, sign me up. I mean, it boils my blood when people say, "Oh, I want to lose this now. I got 2 weeks." I just tell them to shut up, because I don't want to hear them complain about back pain years from now when I've given them the tools they need now to take care of the rest of their life. So this isn't a program to just quickly do it and expect these radical outcomes. I mean, it's hard work. You're going to be huffing and puffing. There's going to be some stuff you're like, this sucks. I don't want to do it. But I got to trust the process. I got to grind it out. I'm going to be sore. I'm going to be tired. I'm going to be fatigued. But again, if you put in the hard work, you're going to grind it out. I guarantee that the results will happen, and not just physically on the outside, but on the inside. You're going to feel good. You're going to move well. You're going to be able to touch your toes. You're going to be able to just go throughout every day, feeling better with a less chance of injury. So that's where I leave with that.
Yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. People want the quick fix, the quick results, and everything else, and what's taken them years to create, they want to be able to undo in a matter of like a few days or a few weeks, and it's just not the way life works. It took you, how many years to gain that 20 or 25 or 30 pounds that you want gone, and you're expecting it to be just history in like 2 to 3 weeks. It's just not the way it works. It's not a like you say, it's not a long-term realistic solution or approach.
Correct.
So
absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, this type of training, that's what's neat about this program too, is that this is the way. Once you go through this program, this is the way you can train your body for the long haul, forever.
Yeah.
And now doing,
Yeah, I'll add one more thing, and then we can wrap it up. But whoever's listening, they might be thinking, well, this sounds too advanced for me or too challenging.
Yeah, sure.
We've included it's called an exercise exchange manual. It's included with the program that if let's say, for instance, they do have knee pain and they can't do one of the exercises that requires, obviously the legs, there are alternative exercises that they can do, as a beginner. I mean, some people might be brand new to exercise. So this program would benefit them just because we have included pretty much an alternate exercise to every exercise in this program. So, and again, I know there's going to be a lot of people that can't do an L-sit pull-up. I mean, it's one of the hardest exercises, so we've included, an alternate exercise that pretty much anybody can do. Yeah,
and that's huge. To have those, like what we call in the business regressions,
right?
Less difficult, less challenging movements that are still, going to give you some good results, and then you can build up to be able to do, that exercise. That's in the program. Yeah, so that's huge. Yeah, that's a really nice manual to refer to. The exercise exchange. Yeah, that's a big deal. I'm glad you mentioned that. So again, for more information, it's stopdoingsitups.com. You get on there, you're going to learn a lot more about Brian. You're going to learn everything about what Crunchless Core is, everything that we've discussed. There's FAQs. everything's on there. I mean, it's you're just going to be able to probably answer almost all your questions. And just thank you so much, Brian, for your time. And he's the creator of Crunchless Core. Yes, sir. Well, you have yourself a terrific day, and thank you again.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Have a good one.